Fantastic. Welcome, Stephen. I am so pleased to see you. You've been one of my most favorite people since you and I were doing, and we will not mention any names, but we were doing something together. And both of us, I think we were paired up together and we had to do some exercises. And I think I kind of loved you on the spot because, and I love your darling wife. I have to quickly say, because you actually literally stuff tripped out of your mouth that I was thinking. And so I completely relaxed. And what I love about now working with you is that, and benefiting from your incredible expertise.
Thank you.
Is that you have a heart of gold and huge integrity, and you really understand how easy it is for those of us in positions of so-called authority to sort of shame and bully people. And yes. You're not a shamer and a bully, and I hope to God I'm not. So it's lovely to welcome you on this show.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. And yeah, it's funny how it feels like millions and millions of years ago that we met. Not saying that we're old fossils or anything, but it felt like so many years ago, but everything, no matter when we talk, it's really, really fresh all of the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had an experience together, should we say, and it was just like, really? So yeah.
And so all these years later, we're doing it. So, and I think what's lovely is what we're sharing is the things that we talked about then. So yeah. Now, I don't want to give too much away, but right. I want you to ask me any question you like, and then I might pull out some wild cards for you.
Fabulous. So I get to ask you questions. So obviously with your work that you do with regards to, the books that you've written, I'll let you give the shameless plug because you'll be able to do it far better than me. Do you like the way I led you into that then? Exactly. And you know what? So timely that you share these. And I asked you this question because it was only yesterday that I did a video on my Instagram stories, because I do a daily diary through social. It's part of what I do with business, but we'll share that another time. And it was yesterday my video was, are you in pain? Because yesterday I was really in pain and I was suffering because, and it's not often that happens. I usually manage my pain quite well. I know when to pace and all of those fun words that we don't like to hear. But I woke up out of bed exhausted, just completely exhausted. Managed to pull myself together, do the school run, get back. And instead of doing the usual video in the car, I got in my office in here and I sat down and I composed myself and I was like, do you know what? Whilst it might come across as a pity post, and I was very honest saying that this is not a pity post. But I want to acknowledge the people that are in pain, entrepreneurs, business owners, parents, if you will, because thinking of all the things that I am, because we still have to get on with it. And especially, I coach people who are in solo businesses or very small teams or startups. And, you can't have a day off because you're in pain. So for your audience and context, I've got ulcerative colitis, and today I haven't got that pain point. I can pinpoint my pain. I know exactly, I can literally touch it when it happens. And I've just had a flare up, had 8 weeks worth of steroids and this, that, and the other. And I think that almost like the cold turkey of coming off those steroids, then readjusting. And then Catherine was poorly Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I was, I had to really step up and do the whole dad bit and care for her. And then Sunday night, I had to take to summer home, so I had to drive her home as well. And that's a 60-mile round trip. Monday, I woke up and I felt like I'd been unplugged. And it was almost like I was trying to find the plug to plug me back in.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to know if you've experienced other people who have experienced that, what your advice is to those. Because I just literally, I grabbed it. It's not around here. I had a Post-it note and I said, I have a usual full diary like everybody else. This is what I've done today. Point one is I've redistributed my entire diary for the day. Point two is I've got one meeting which I must attend. And point three is self-care throughout the day. And I just had some food, consumed loads of water, meditated, and it got me through the day. It didn't take the pain away, but it got me through the day.
Yeah.
And I'd be interested to see, you'll have consumed so much information from me, and you'll just put pieces of puzzles together, and that's what I'm excited about, because I know it's going to happen again. So,
okay, so Stephen, bear with me about this. What I've noticed over 40 years of clinical experience is that men in particular, so I'm definitely not having a gender battering. I'm actually supporting what I've noticed. So men, and particularly those who are in a situation where they are married to someone who really is battling with a very, very nasty chronic disease. If you've got the kind of heart, Stephen, that you do, what I've noticed is that you will just get on with whatever it is you need to do. And you won't notice in a way that another bag of heavy bricks is put on your shoulders, and then another, and then another, and then another. And then by Monday morning, in your particular case, your body, what is right about you is that your body cleverly went, enough. I actually, this is like, so most men love cars. So you get in your car, and you've got an array of wonderful, what would you call them? Like a cockpit where you know what the tire pressure is, and the petrol gauge, and some really swanky cars now you can even move the steering wheel up and down, and you can push this button and you can determine where the air conditioning is going to be. So there's a multitude of choices. Okay, now my work is showing people that basically you've got that in your body, but we're not taught. Not taught to get in our car, which is ourselves, and check in with ourselves. So our body has to, in a way, rather cleverly kind of go, excuse me, beeping, tire pressure low, petrol down. We immediately go into, well, that's a nuisance. I mean, what's wrong with me? And then we're tripped up. And what you cleverly did was you went, hold on a minute, self-care. So you're streets ahead of many, many people who just, they go for the paracetamol or whatever it is. Now, drugs are really, really effective and important. However, people with chronic conditions actually learn the hard way, and rather sadly, that they can't rely on the medications. So you've had another lot of steroids and you've had to go cold turkey coming off. Well, your darling intestinal tract is sore. It's sort of had a massive plaster over it. But you have a condition that is affecting your immune system.
Yeah, massively. And the irony here is I've been given some drugs because I have injectables, and literally I took my injectable today, which lowers my immune system. So during COVID, I was locked in here for 2 years. Yes. So Stephen, you in particular, and I'll talk about you in particular, having gone sort of general, you've got so much on your plate.
you're a real giver and you're a real caretaker. Your heart is huge. You have an incredible intellect, and you're utilizing that all day, every day. You're now a one-man band. You also can bring in teams of people, but you're in charge of you and your family. And that's what men are supposed to be. They're the hunters and gatherers. But actually, you need more time for yourself. And the world that we're living in now, which I think is really heartbreaking in a sense, is there's the illusion that we don't necessarily have to change our behaviors when we've got an illness and a condition.
Right. Usually, what is it? It's usually they give you drugs. There you go, crack on.
Yeah.
Because to be fair, that's what I did. And they gave me the drugs. They didn't work very well. I think the way I managed my condition, and I'm not saying it's the right way, but I managed the condition and said, right, I've got it. I'll accept it. This is the medication they've given me. I will trial this stuff, because I see a lot of people, they'll, oh my God, I've got this condition. And that will be woe is me. And I understand that, because it's a lot to take on. And then the drugs will fix it. And I'm like, I'm not convinced the drugs will fix it, but it will help me at this point.
Yes.
And I'm not opposed to trialing other things based on what's within my capacity. So, if it was all about self-care and everything was, say, a natural remedy, I probably couldn't manage that at this moment in my life, because I have so much going on. So I suppose in some respects, the drugs do work to a certain degree. The injectable has definitely increased the quality of my life. However, I know that the side effect is a low immune system. And when I go on holiday in August, I've got to stay in the shade, because the other side effect is you could be prone to skin cancer.
Yes. So, okay.
There's a payoff.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, what I love about the work that I do with people is that we're real. So what you've just said is real. And what I love is the idea of introducing you to a future shift.
Yeah.
So your intestinal tract is thoroughly irritated. It's deeply unhappy.
Okay.
And your lungs and your large intestine is to do with the capacity to bring in what we call the heavenly energy. Okay. And what we mean by that is quality of life, quality of experience. And even sort of, sometimes I think of the lungs as the alchemist's wand.
Okay.
So, and you very much remind me of somebody who's an alchemist and sort of waving a wand with all your clients.
Okay.
Because the quality that you bring as a person to your work is impeccable, and it's full of integrity, which is very much what the lungs is all about. Okay. When the lungs are well, it gives us, as on a personality behavioral level, literally the capacity to be very clear in our integrity. So now your lungs also works through your large intestine.
Right.
And your large intestine is very unhappy at the moment. So my job in part is to go, okay, well, why don't we make a plan like you would a plan with me, with marketing, sales, or whatever it is?
Yep.
Why don't we make a plan for when we are slowly going to introduce changes that will begin to make a difference? Because in a sense, you've been in an emergency where you've just had to do what you had to do. But you're smart enough to know that actually there are side effects, and you want a way forward that is manageable, keyword in my form of medicine, manageable and one step at a time. So you begin to be back in charge. Because the problem about for all of us, when we have to hand ourselves over to Western medicine, two things are not happening.
Okay.
One is we are not getting the information, valuable information that we need to understand our own bodies.
Yep.
So if the problem's going to keep on arising, we're still floundering around disempowered.
Mm.
Then the second thing is we have no concept of there being a gift in the midst of what it is that we quite like to run away from.
Right. Okay.
So your lungs and large intestine, in fact, your whole body is attempting to get your attention. And it's a bit like the cockpit again. Yeah. So in a sense, I'm going to use a ludicrous metaphor. It's like you're sitting in a Ford Cortina car. Okay. I've got nothing against Ford Cortinas, by the way. But you are operating as if you're a Ford Cortina, when in fact you're a Ferrari.
My favorite car.
Okay. Well, okay. So your clever body in mind, body, and spirit is actually asking more of you, but differently, which is where the more that you can be empowered to understand the language of your own body, the more your sense of adventure comes up and your sense of dis-ease goes down. Does that make any sense to all?
Yeah, that makes sense. The next question is then, how do you do it? And no, it's like the $64 billion question. It's like, well, so what's that first step? What's that one? Because I talk about when any client is, they come to me and we want to build a business, want to build my personal brand and this, that, and the other. I'm like, okay, 1%. Because if I give you 10 million things to do, or say like, this is the whole program, it's like, it's like, so 1%, what's the first thing? What's the first thing we need to do? Because I always refer to it as, when we talk about personal brand, people don't realize it's an inside job first.
Yeah.
And that's why I relate to this with you.
Okay. So Stephen, the first thing I do with people, and it depends who it is, but the first thing I would do with you is I would send you away and I'd go, you decide how willing are you to make some changes? And can you please come back on a practical level and tell me that you've got 10 minutes a day, that you're willing?
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
Because if someone engages with how willing they are, and if they can give me, if it's someone like you, because my job is to find out how people operate.
Okay.
So I had a client the other day, she was completely wonderful, and she's riddled with a particular condition that she is, first of all, she told me that as far as she was concerned, that condition could not be changed. Okay. And then the second thing she told me very clearly is, you're not to make me give up red wine. Okay. And then she challenged me by saying, can you do anything for me? And I said, yes, because I had already asked her what she wanted. She doesn't know, and this is not me going to be manipulating her, but she doesn't know that actually, if she really wants those things, the last thing that we have to change yet is going near the red wine, because she's already telling me where she's at. And it's not up to me to bully her and say, right, well, if you want such and such, and if you want this condition to change, which is far, I mean, I'm in a win-win, because she thinks I can't do anything for this condition anyway.
Right.
So she wants me over here.
Let me
so I'm going to go over there.
It's like every well-planned thing, I have an alarm going off.
Well, I won't keep you very much longer.
No, please do. It was just
so Stephen, I know that you are willing.
Absolutely.
But I would still ask you to go away and really think about it, because what you will find if you just ask yourself, I wonder what Catherine means by that, you would start having a dialogue with yourself about,
yeah,
I wonder what my limits are. If she told me to give up tea, and I've my whole brand is on have a cup of tea with, Stephen.
but it's tea with Steve. But you know what? I've moved from standard tea to lemon and ginger. It's good for the throat. It's good for it's good for me. And it's funny you say that, because I wanted to. I've got a really sweet tooth, and I know sugar is one of my nemesis. And I know if I have sugar in the evening, even if it's just one square of chocolate in the morning, I look like I'm pregnant. So I've stopped. I've literally thought, you know what? Let's see if I can do it. And I cut out tea because it was part of it was like almost like staple diet. And I need a different type of tea. And I tried herbal teas and everything in the past. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try lemon and ginger. And I've really, it's done me the world of good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if anyone says they can't make a change, or if you say, can you give me 10 minutes? If they say no, then there's a lot to do with them, surely, that it's got to be unpacked. Because what's 10 minutes?
Yeah, but Stephen, the thing that I've discovered is most people, huge amounts of people are leading very, very unmanageable, tight, tough lives. We sort of all love to kind of sort of give it a little bit of BS and make out that it's much more manageable than it really is.
Mm.
And modern life is incredibly stressful. We have these going off all the time.
Like we just have.
Yeah, we're just, all of us, we do our best. We had a time, that we'd organized, we were both available, and yet, our best very often actually doesn't meet the sides of our real lives. So I think that if someone, this particular person I really, really, really like, I loved it that she was telling me categorically what she thought she couldn't do. But at the same time, she was saying, this is what I want. So I can work with that. So for instance, if you go at the moment, I'm not negotiating this, then I go, that's fine. Because the point is that I come from a training. So let's pretend I'm a mechanic, okay? Yeah. In my toolbox, I know fundamentally that the human body and spirit and mind is so much more powerful than we can even imagine. Mm. So if you give me your limits, I will take note of them, but I will immediately show you what you can do within not just your limits, but the limits of how we're all struggling.
So for the benefit of your viewers then, and we can pull them along with me, I'm open to any suggestion on the planet. Not saying I'll do it, but I'm a very open person in the fact that I believe anything is possible. Within my personal limits, there's two things that I have a challenge with at the moment. Okay, which might then draw that in. Okay, one is firstly my knees from a physical perspective, because I started boxing last year, tore my meniscus in my left knee, tore my IT band in my right knee, with it all at the same time, but they came out at different stages. So I struggle to walk. So when I'm doing the school run, we drive and I can manage the car. I get out of the car and I'm like this, because I'm so unsteady. So I have to walk really intentionally. I think people think I'm lazy, but I'm making it 150 yards up the road in stages with Ruby. Ruby's like, come on, Dad, because she's ahead of me. So my knees and the stability around that causes me a challenge. And then the other one right now, I hope I'm not showing this through the camera. I'm literally yawning behind my face because I am shattered. And I have this thing where put me on camera and I can pull it off. But when I come off camera, I'm like, like that. So it's like people used to laugh in the day. We're wheeling the Queen out for another event. That I'm like, they like wheel me in front of a camera, and then I take everything at my own pace. Yesterday I had a conversation with a lady, and she says, "So how many hours do you work a day?" I went, "Purposely no more than 5." She's like, "Why do you only work 5 hours?" And I said, "Because I can get more done in 5 hours than the average Joe can get in a 12-hour day."
Yeah.
Because I have built my lifestyle that way. So therefore I don't have to work an 8, 12-hour day anymore.
Okay, so Stephen, your knees, and I don't want to overload you with this, but all of our knees are connected to what we call our kidney energy.
Okay.
So for you to have got to this point in your life, generally speaking, but very particularly also to do with you, you've had to push. So your body is now giving you all sorts of signs and symptoms that if you push through, the situation has to get worse.
Okay.
So your switchboard, as it were, in your car is now flashing amber, but if you carry on, it's going to flash red. So my job is to invite you to start making behavioral changes one at a time.
Yep.
That gets down the inflammation.
Yep.
So reducing sugar is absolutely the quickest way that you can possibly manage to reduce the inflammation.
Okay. Is that all sugars, natural sugars, or?
Okay. Any man-made sugar puts your body under tremendous strain.
I'm glad you said man-made, because I do like a bit of honey.
Yeah. So your absorption at the moment is quite faulty. Which, if you have a piece of chocolate and then in the morning you're kind of swollen, your body's not really absorbing. Yeah. So you're in some vicious cycles that we need to break down and go, it's okay, body, we're listening, we're here. So honey is fine a little bit.
Yep.
People, what they do is they go, I've given up sugar and I only have a pint and a half of honey a day. And I go, no. So because what we don't want to do is spike your insulin levels.
Yeah, because that up until the last flare up, that was always happening, and I was on the cusp of diabetes. Yeah.
So let me see. For the sake of everybody listening.
Yep.
Okay. So let's keep this really, really simple. Do you see these?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Now, most people, if you say insulin to them, they don't understand it, which is fine. I'm not going to talk about insulin. What I am going to talk about, though, is your inflammation.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we want to reverse the inflammation in your system, anything, and I mean anything, mentally, physically, and even spiritually, that actually has your system going up and down and on red alert, means that we cannot make an impact on your intestinal tract, for you in particular.
Yep.
So let's keep this really simple. There is more chronic illness now, probably, than at any other point, for so many reasons.
Yeah.
So, and we can do a whole podcast on those reasons, but right now you are one of many that has an inflammatory disorder. So the number one thing, if you come back to me and you say, I'm really, really am willing, what do I, the first thing I want you to do is to begin to get your head around inflammation.
Okay.
Just this word, inflammation. What the hell does it mean? What do I have to do? Because your number one job is to reduce. So we talk about self-care, which is great, and we'll meditate. We'll meditate, but we'll still, after our meditation, we'll go out and have a cup of tea and a biscuit.
You've been in my house then.
So, we'll do all sorts of things that we've heard is self-care, but we literally are still doing things that absolutely, we'll have an argument with our partner.
Yeah.
We'll be really peaceful, lovely, but yes, lovely. And then we'll mismanage our affairs for whatever reason. There's no judgment. Go out and shout the hell out of whoever it is that we know we love. Because we are not managing at all. So the inflammation has to be the number one job.
Right.
What you eat, what you drink, how much you sleep. Now, a lot of people with inflammatory disorders don't sleep properly.
I haven't slept well for years.
I can tell.
And my bag's that bad.
No. But so do you know about, I'm presuming you do, old-fashioned larders? Do you remember, did your mum have an old-fashioned larder?
Are we talking cupboards or the car?
Yes. Yeah, no, cupboards.
Yep.
Okay. So most of us will remember that, for instance, let's say I just turn up with three of your friends and you and Catherine have no food in the fridge and you just go to the larder, you go to the tins.
Yeah.
Okay. And you can produce a meal for us because that's a courteous thing to do. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, our bodies are constantly trying to deal with what we ask of them.
Yeah.
But we don't know our bodies. So we don't know that we are quite literally depleting our larder energy all the time. That's what modern life is like. So there's going to come a time when I'm going to come to you and I'm going to come with three friends and I'm going to go, have you got a meal? And you're going to go, no, there's nothing left. Now, I don't want to scare you, but most chronic conditions have tipped into a chronic condition because there are no more reserves left.
Right.
Sometimes you can replenish those reserves. So it has to be a priority amongst all the other priorities that you have to begin to replenish the reserves.
Yeah.
Now, how do you do that? You start concentrating on getting the inflammation down.
Okay.
So from me, we're not going to be able to do it today, but we need to get a very clear understanding of what is it in a day that is tipping you over the edge.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you one tip.
Yeah.
Come 6 o'clock at night, in your case, other people, I would say 8 o'clock. Come 6 o'clock in the evening, every form of electronic stuff needs to be switched off.
We might struggle tonight because I coach at 6 o'clock.
No, but that's what's fun about this is I say 6, knowing you probably won't say 6, so I'll negotiate to 7. So what's such fun about this is it's like literally I'm negotiating your own energy systems.
Yeah.
So you push back and then I go, okay, well, what about 7? No, well, 7:30. Okay. So we've already got it right. So when is the last time at night time that you on average shut your stuff down?
Everything. I'm not involved in this stuff apart from coaching nights, 5, 6 o'clock, but my phone is with me until I don't take it to bed. It's on charge downstairs, but it's probably 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah. So your liver and your gallbladder hates, for all of us, hates all this stuff. So I'm staying in a house some of the time at the moment, and It's got very fancy light boxes or whatever. And at night time, it drives me mad because it's flashing at me. And I know that my poor little liver and gallbladder are going, yikes, because your liver and your gallbladder is connected to your vision. And your vision needs to be turned off, needs to rest. And most of us are still kind of going, oh.
Yeah.
Did you like that?
Yeah, loved it.
So we need to calm our eyes down. If you calm your eyes down at night, you literally giving the body a signal that it can start switching off.
Gotcha.
All of these peaks
are
basically adrenalized on, and everything in modern life is you're on.
Gotcha.
Hopeless for an inflammatory. It's actually hopeless for everybody. I mean, all the people that don't have chronic conditions, I'm slightly exaggerating, but not by much, are going to be hurtling towards all sorts of stuff because of all of this equipment that doesn't let the vision and therefore the liver and the gallbladder calm down.
And now you can see why these like electronic glasses were invented, so people can wear them in the evening and still use their phone.
Yeah. No, it's I mean, what I love about the work that I do, Stephen, is once a human being understands how amazing their Ferrari is, they kind of go, crikey, I've got to have, I mean, I love this analogy, men love it. You know, when you're in Switzerland in the snow in the winter, you wouldn't dream of driving in that snow with your summer tires on.
Nope.
Do you know what I mean? You go, what do you mean, Deborah? So stupid. No, I mean, that's dangerous. Now, we are doing things unintentionally with our bodies that are the equivalent, literally, of doing exactly that. Now, smart asses come up to me, excuse me saying that, smart Alex come up to me and they go, yes, but I always get away with driving in the snow in my summer tires. And I go, yes, until you don't. Yeah. And then it's too late. Gotcha. So there are so many little tiny things that we can do with you, for you within the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, for you to begin to be in charge of your very unhappy intestinal tract, which the inflammation goes down, the immune system comes up, you no longer maybe need to have whatever it is you're having, or we can reduce it. And then suddenly you're in charge. And then there's a gift in all of this because you've got to know yourself more.
Yeah. Love it. Thank you.
I love my work, and the intestinal tract is the organ that is being bombarded at the moment. And you're ahead of the game because it's so severe that you're going to have to learn about it, and you're going to have to learn in a way that will contribute to your life amazingly.
Cool. I'm up for that because, like you say, you know, I've got to learn. Something's got to change because I am very conscious that I changed my diary, I changed the way I do things. I've spun the business round.
Yeah.
So that I can, it's, you know, I built this business so that I could spend more time with my family, but I don't want to spend more time with my family sick.
Yeah. So you're already, your knees are going, your intestinal tracts, you know, I mean, I love that expression about you yawning behind, you know, you're not sleeping. So there are so many things that we can slowly begin to change. And then you start feeling better.
And the first one is get rid of the phone before 8 o'clock.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well,
if that's definitely doable.
Yes. Do you see what I mean? Yep. So, you know, you didn't know before this podcast that your vision is connected to your liver and your gallbladder.
I had no idea whatsoever.
So you're switching yourself on on. And you know when you're getting your children to sleep?
Yep.
Okay. You know the nightmare of when they're settling and their eyes shut, and then there's noise and they're like this.
Yep.
And you're going,
to my body.
damn, another 20 minutes.
Yeah.
We are like that. We need
Gotcha.
to come down. We need to land.
Yep.
Settle, settle, settle.
That I can do. And it's not until someone says, well, do you know what? You need to do this because of this. And I go, okay. That makes sense to me. Makes perfect sense to me. Now you've shared the information. But if someone just said, oh, you should be doing this, or you should trying to give their best advice, but without any context, I require context. So I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Well, you know, the reason why I began this company is because I discovered that if people don't have the context, they will not make the changes.
Agreed. That's exactly how I feel. Yeah.
So, Stephen, you're a complete star, and please involve me in your darling body's progress.
I will. Absolutely. Of course I will.
And yes, thank you very much for interacting with me and telling me, because there are so many people out there that really need to know this information.
100% they do. They really, really do. And I'm grateful for being a guest. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
You're welcome.